All right, we're back with essentially a part 2 to the video where we showed how to connect external synths to the MPC. In this video, we're going to be covering the AutoSampler, a really cool feature of how to take sounds out of external synths and make key groups inside of the MPC. Now, if you haven't watched the setup video, it's going to be linked right here, also down in the description below, showing you how to connect your external synths to the MPC. But at the end of this video, we're going to take it one step further and go over how we can take the key group that we made from that external synth and turn it into a playable instrument inside of the MPC. This is going to be done using effects and also mapping those effects to the macro knobs where you can have live control, sound manipulation of your new key group, making it just much more of an interesting instrument to play. So let's jump right in. So what is AutoSampler? AutoSampler is a feature inside of the MPC that will essentially trigger an external synth for a certain period of time, recording each one of those samples back into the MPC, mapping it across a key span to create a key group instrument. So we have this bass sound, but I want to turn this into the ability to play it polyphonically because this is a monophonic synth, and use it to make some pads. So if we go into Menu, go into Sampler, right at the top, we're going to see this little keyboard right here. So let's click on that. And now we are in the AutoSampler menu. First thing we're going to see is what is the track name? Well, we're on track 01 using MIDI program 01, which is correct. Recording from input 1 and 2. What is the key range we want to go from? By default, it's C2 to C4, but you can extend that if you want to get some really low lows and some really high highs. I typically leave that at the default because it does a good enough job. Note stride is the distance between the actual sampled notes. So in this case, being 6, it would first sample, let's say, the note of C, and then it would go up 6 steps and take the next sample, stretching those samples across the key map in order to hit every single note. Now you can decrease this all the way to 1, meaning that it's going to sample each individual note. However, it's going to add a lot of time to the process, and it's also going to add a lot of size. So we're going to leave it at 6, meaning that it's going to sample every 6th note, and we'll hear that laid on the key map and then stretch it accordingly. Next is velocity, and since this isn't a velocity sensitive patch, we are just going to leave it at a single layer. However, if you had a patch on your external synth that changed as you hit different note velocities, you could enable up to 4 different layers of note velocities. Moving down, we have the sampling menu. First is how long is the note, and then how long is the tail afterwards. By default, it's 3,000 milliseconds or 3 seconds, and 1,000 milliseconds or 1 second. Since we want this to be a pad, we're going to actually increase this to about 4,000 milliseconds. And there is a very short release, if not non-existent release over here. So we really don't need a tail on this. I'm just going to turn it down to a half a second. I'm going to change the name of this, and I'm going to call this pad 1. Moving down, we have our looping options, such as when it gets to the end of the sample and you're still holding the pad, it's going to create a little loop and loop continuously. Sometimes you can actually hear the loop, sometimes it does it very well, but you can always go in and change the loop point if you would like. Then upon completion, do we want to make this our current program? We're going to hit yes. And then down at the very bottom, it's going to tell us that this is going to roughly take 18 seconds to do. So let's give it a shot. Let's hit do it, and we're going to hear it play each individual note, skip 6 more notes, play it again, each time sampling it in and laying it across the key map. All right, and we can see we're back to track number 1, and it's changed it to a key group program and pad number 1 as we named it. Now that we have this converted from the external synth into a key group program, we're able to then go into our pad performer. We're then able to go into our pad performer and now play some chords. So now that we have created this new key group program using the AutoSampler, let's take it one step further, do some sound design, and then also use the macro menu in order to give ourselves an actual playable instrument. So I'm going to go back into the main menu, and I'm going to touch on the eyeball up here, make sure we're on the program level, which is going to be the 4 squares. And let's jump in and start adding some effects. The first thing I want to do is I want to be able to control the high cut of this sound. So we're going to come into the filter section, add a filter, and now we have the ability to open up the high end, but I also want the ability to cut off the low end of this sound as well. So let's go to the next available slot, put another filter on it, but within this filter we're going to change it from LP, low pass 4, into HP4, meaning that now we have a low cut. So we can thin out that sound. The next thing we're going to add is a reverb. So let's come in here, go into reverbs. Just tweak it a little bit, bring it down from that to there. And then let's add a little bit of delay, and we're just going to use the standard air delay on here. And maybe we change this to quarter notes, see how that sounds. Now we're going to take it one step further and assign these 4 knobs to the 4 key parameters on each one of those different effects that we just put on. We're going to do that using the Q-Link menu. So we're going to press and hold down our Q-Link. This is going to pull up our menu. By default, it's going to be on the screen, but we're going to change the Q-Links to control the program. And we're also going to hit Edit Q-Link. Now we're in the Q-Link menu. Another way to get there is if we hit main menu right here and then see the Q-Link edit. Now we're in the same place, program is selected. So by default we have values already in here, but we're going to start changing these. So on the very first one right here, and I can just simply touch it to activate it, as you can see right here. So for this first one, I want to assign it to the high cut of the filter that's in the first insert slot. But we're going to change this from mute and go to insert number 1, and then click on this, and we're going to change it to the frequency cutoff. Moving on to the next one, we want to go to insert 2, which is our low cut. And again, we're going to go to the frequency cutoff. Now I have the ability to cut out the low end and the ability to cut off the high end. The third one right here, on our third insert slot, we have the reverb, and I want to use that with the mix. Now, if we turn it all the way down, it's dry, and we can quickly add reverb. And sort of wash out that sound and bring it back. On the fourth one, we're going to go into insert number 4, and we're going to go to the mix of the delay, and now we have the ability to quickly add in the delay. Now we have the ability to play this key group as an actual instrument. One thing you can do on your machine, depending on the layout of your cue links, is you can control multiple ones at the same time just by laying your fingers over them. And we've created a playable instrument sampling the external monophonic synth to make a playable polyphonic key group. All right, I hope that helps you understand how you can take sounds from external instruments using the AutoSampler feature and put them into the MPC. Another thing you can do is if you're using the MPC in controller mode, you can actually do this with any VST from your computer. done the exact same way. You just select the input is the VST channel, and then it will go through the entire AutoSampler program. Don't forget to add some effects, do the mapping so you have control of the most key parts of each one of those effects, so you can actually have more live manipulation of the sound. So everybody here, thank you so much for watching. We're going to be coming out with new videos every week. We're back in the studio, fully back on schedule. I appreciate everybody's support with this channel. And on that note, thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention. Now go make something cool. Or go over to a friend's house with the AutoSampler and steal a bunch of their presets out of their really expensive analog gear. You don't need the analog gear. You just need to hook up the AutoSampler, hit a couple of buttons, boom. You got it right there inside your MPC. Peace.